Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Nodos? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go. And listen, just when you thought we've just dropped the ball on this one.
Dropped the ball.
It's a fumble.
Man.
But anyway.
I like you. You have balls.
But anyway, thanks for joining us. If you're new to the show, make sure you hit us up on YouTube or Facebook. Search us up, Football on the Know Show, as well. Go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, let you guys know when we go live, and also follow us on Facebook. Become a member, become a know-it-all. We are here. We are ready to go. And listen, just when you thought there was nothing, absolutely nothing to talk about with the NFL. Yes, we have the Hall of Fame game tonight. It's delayed. We're still waiting for that to kick off. But while we're waiting, we got some topics that we got to talk about that just happened this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about quick the Deshaun Watson thing now. We've been talking about this for weeks again. We hate to beat a dead horse and stuff, but we finally this week had gotten the apparent punishment that it was going to be 6 games, and that seemed about right, justified. Let's do 6 games here, and again, because there was no criminal charges actually, filed stuff. They all settled out of court and everything. Wasn't really accused. He wasn't really found guilty of doing anything here, too. It just, again, detrimental to the Shield. So that serves a 6-week suspension. That seems right. And that's even carried out by a judge that's a female. If you want to take a look at this from a personal point of view about women's rights and feeling good about empowering women during this whole thing, because look at it. It's a sexual crime, it seems like. You know what I'm saying? Again, he sexually might have assaulted these women or whatever, on that borderline of what they were claiming, that it was unwanted, things like that, taken advantage of. So this is what has been laid out. After we already heard about the rumors of the NFL wanting to go after this guy for a full year. Well, now we're hearing the Roger Goodell and the NFL will appeal this, and now they've appointed a judge from New Jersey a male judge at that. That's what I mean, to try and appeal this sentence, to try and go after him for more, Joe, after, again, they haven't really found him guilty of any charges here.
And
interviewing him again. It's like, what, you haven't talked to him enough about this whole thing that you haven't figured anything out? Now they're going after him again. It just seems like a big witch hunt to me to go after this guy. And for what, though? For what?
Absolutely. But that's the thing is, like, we've debated these type of issues before, like gun charges, having possession of an illegal weapon, domestic abuse, just all out like DUIs and what have you. And we see the variance of, and it's just a big, huge range from the NFL in terms of their punishments, been up and down. They're never consistent with what they preach. We're gonna throw the book at people for domestic abuse. You know what I mean? But then you see, a couple examples that have happened a couple years ago with like Kareem Hunt, with like Tyreek Hill, and you're like, well, what? You thought you were going to throw the book at? We were expecting like a real harsh penalty, maybe a season-long suspension. No. Try half the year. You know what I mean? So, and then Tyreek Hill didn't even serve much of a suspension, very little. So it's like, with them being as inconsistent as they are, dealing out certain punishments to certain situations, it begs the question now, yet again, now here we are with another major situation with quarterback Deshaun Watson. And yes, allegedly, there was like a count of 30 females that wanted to press charges against him. They went to court, legal court, and found that there wasn't enough evidence or any evidence proving otherwise. So he is deemed innocent. Now, because they missed out on proving anything at all, for that matter, now they're like, oh, let's hit him in the wallet now. So now we're going to appeal that. We're going to civil court. We're trying to get money from you now. 30 females or so. Okay. Guess what? He's settled with just about all of them, if not all of them by now. And now that, okay, they got their money. Now they're done. They're gone. And I'm not saying that he never did anything of the sort, but what my opinion on all this is you took him to legal court. You could not prove anything with a shadow of a doubt that he did something. He was convicted, he's guilty of anything. And now, because you missed out on that, let's take him to civil court. Let's try to hit him in the wallet as hard as we possibly can. And okay, now we got our money, so now we're all set. Okay. And now that everything's over with now. We think we've been through legal court, we've been through civil court. It should be done now, right? Well, not exactly, because now the NFL isn't satisfied. Now they're like, hey, wait a second. 6-game suspension, that seems a little light for us. Even though you weren't convicted of anything and you settled all your civil cases, we want you suspended for at least 12 months.
Horse shit!
At least 12 months, they said. They're not looking for just 12 months. They're looking for maybe even more than that. So this raises a bunch of red flags for both of us. And we're like, listen, just like you were saying, this has got to be a witch hunt at this point. He hasn't been proven guilty in the legal court of law. He's settled just about all, if not all, of his civil cases are done. And now a ruling has been given to him as a 6-game suspension. Here we are. Okay, let's get ready for football now. This is what we expected all along. I know the NFL was pushing for a full season, but it never happened. And now we're like, all of a sudden we're hit with this news now. NFL going to appeal. They want a very steep penalty for Deshaun Watson, who, mind you, in the court's eyes is innocent. So how can you throw the book at Deshaun Watson when this man is innocent now? He's deemed innocent. He's settled everything. Let's move on.
Yeah, and it seems like they're just trying to go after him again to make a stand. Again, I don't know what it is. Again, that maybe some of these guys, the way their activities are, I don't know what really it is about this guy that had really set them off, especially because the NFL doesn't need these young stars as much as somebody like the MLB, things like that are struggling for viewers and stuff. So, I mean, they don't need it, but it's good to have these types of younger quarterbacks that people like that are still, really, great at, those franchise quarterbacks. They've got to be face of the franchise. And for them to try and to deter this and throw his career off into a different cycle, I guess, and really hinder this Cleveland Browns team too, who had went all in on the contract to bring him in to help this team, and they're ready to win if they have him here. And it seems like the NFL's just got a thing against either him or just the Cleveland Browns in general, and they won't stop until they get what they want here. But again, we'll follow it, see how it goes, but it does seem a little extreme here, too.
It's
Again,
crazy.
Let's get it done. I think some of these other people, like we've brought up so many times, had more evidence against them. And again, maybe people had still settled out, or even there was even evidence that they were charged that got less of a charge. Again, bring it back to the New York Giants kicker, again, too, who was suspended, for a game or something like that.
But here's the thing.
Beating his wife. I mean, like, hello?
Let's bring it right out. Let's bring it right out into the open. 2 big examples. Tyreek Hill. What do you get? Like a 2-game, 4-game suspension, something short like that. There wasn't video evidence, but there was audio evidence of him threatening his pregnant wife and what sounded like he was harming his little boy. Now there was talks between the wife, and words were said between Tyreek Hill and his wife, and threatened her and said, if you say anything, bitch, I'm gonna fuck you up. You know what I mean? Like that's really what that was evidence. That's audio evidence. And then when you take the matter of Kareem Hunt had him and his posse at a night venue, and somewhere in the hallway, I think it was a hotel actually, somewhere in the hallway or corridor or something, he was videoed of him beating the snot out of a female laying on the ground. And his own crew had to pull him off of her to get him to stop. Now, let's just say his crew isn't there. How far is he taking this now? He's already beating her. Like, are you beating her until she's unconscious now? Like, what? So even with video evidence of Kareem Hunt doing that, he got an 8-game suspension. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, if these matters are, which they were, very serious, the NFL handled them pretty lightly. They didn't really throw too much. They didn't even throw a page at them. You know what I mean? Slap on the wrist, really. And then You forward to now with Deshaun Watson. Okay, yeah, I get it. He's like a franchise quarterback. He's the face of a team, now for the Cleveland Browns. And it's like, wow, you're going to throw the book at this guy? One, there's no evidence proving that he's guilty. Two, he was deemed innocent. And three, has settled all of his civil cases. How are you going to throw the book at this guy? Let the 6-game suspension uphold. And let's be done with this. Let's move on. Mm-hmm. Do the right thing, NFL.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You guys do the right thing by liking the video and also share it as well. Drop a comment on the comment section, too, if you guys have an opinion about this topic. Also, if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, bring it up to us right now. Again, we're just covering some of the latest news that's going around the NFL. One of the most recent things that happened now, Joe, is the Deante Johnson had signed an extension now with the Pittsburgh Steelers now.
That's right.
And now Mike Garoppolo, it had come out that it was going to be a 2-year deal worth $36.7 million, I think, and that gave him $19 million his first year, which is going to put him in the top 20 highest paid wide receivers in the league.
Wow.
But now it's heard that it's going to be possibly a 3-year extension that puts him out to be a free agent in 2025. So what do you think about that, Joe? I mean, that's a pretty hefty number for a guy that, for my opinion, just a year removed of having one of the most drops in the NFL and not being a reliable receiver. He bounced back a bit last year and showed that he could maybe fix some of those mistakes, but not proven enough to be like a true number one, which he's got to be for their team right now.
Absolutely, and that's the craziest thing to me is like, when I first saw the news and everything, and you see like, oh, he got extended. Okay, cool. Let me just dial in on this and see the specifics of it, or at least what they're able to tell us right now. I was astonished by how much money. Not only did what he got, like you just mentioned, like top 20. He's paid one of the top 20 receivers in the league. I'm sorry, I don't view Deante Johnson as one of those top 20 type of receivers. You look at a guy a couple years ago that had a problem catching the football with his hands. And there was a lot of concern with the Steelers, and they were like, what's the future for Deante there? Like, do they move on from him? Do they like try to keep working with him? And last year we saw improvement. We saw him catch more balls than drop them and everything, but still not consistent. Doesn't still have consistent hands. So what's confusing to me is for a guy that doesn't necessarily have consistent hands, still improved but not consistent, gets a bigger deal like this. And wow, I mean, Pittsburgh, like you have a lot more faith in him than I do. Like, don't get me wrong, you can't teach speed. He can work on his hands, but you can't teach speed. I get all that. However, this guy still isn't consistent enough for me to dole out that kind of cash. To back up the Brinks truck a little bit there, and you take half the truck, and now we're moving on. Like, this is a little excessive in my eyes. Like, I get it. You want to retain him? That's fine. But I feel like this contract extension should have been worked on a little bit more of a team-friendly deal. And Deante probably would have been happy to sign it regardless, because I have a feeling he wants to stay in Pittsburgh. That's, where everybody is, his friends, he understands, he knows the offense and everything. He's got a home, doesn't want to move, just like most players. So I feel like they could have still worked on a deal where it would have been more team friendly. They would have been able to retain his services, maybe even a 1-year extension, like a prove it deal type of thing. Mm-hmm. So now you have him for the next 2 seasons, at least, to see if he keeps improving his catching. And then maybe you go into like a bigger deal if he proves himself. But for me, this is a little bit too rich for a guy like Deante Johnson in my eyes. I still think he has talent, of course. But again, he needs to be way more consistent in catching the ball. And for a team like the Steelers, who through history have been known to find hidden gems at linebacker, hidden gems at wide receiver, like I feel like they don't have a hard time finding those positions. And I think they could have done they could have done better with adding more talent to replace Deante Johnson if after this year it doesn't work out.
Right. And for them to even do this deal again, that they were really that worried about trying to lock this guy in for a few more years, like he was going to be that suitable after this next couple after this year, like they might lose him to another team and free agency again, because you still have some decent other receivers there as well to help out with that team. But you got to think about the idea with Mitch Trubisky now too. So he's starting out with this guy. What if he performs pretty well? He's probably going to want an extension or a different deal to get his money up there too as well. So you got to be able to dish out some money for him. Maybe they were trying to make sure that he's still there and they work together and they can get maybe they work well with each other. You know what I mean? So they get confident in working with each other. So they can keep them together. I'm not sure, but it seems like it's a team though that's trying to move on when they go and draft a Kenny Pickett to a younger guy. So what happens if that does happen? So are they ready just to walk away from a Mitch Trubisky if he does pretty well this year? Or are they going to give him the extension, have Kenny Pickett sit behind, Mitch Trubisky and season a little bit still before he actually gets a starting job? Or how quick are they going to turn to like a Kenny Pickett? And are they working out the factor that they're not going to have to pay a quarterback pretty good money, keep Pickett on a rookie contract as long as they can, and just give the money out to keep re-upping these guys?
Well, first of all, like the whole deal with Mitch is let's just say he has a decent year, not a great year, not a bad year, but a decent year, right? Keeps the team in games. He wins a few for them, does a pretty good job for them. The thing with Kenny Pickett is that, yes, he was drafted, but just like any quarterback out of this past draft, they all need development. None of them are ready just to start right away. Kenny Pickett was the most NFL ready out of all of them. However, he went to a team where there's a lot of inclement weather, especially in the winter time, and he has tiny hands. And in the NFL, historically, there's never been a starting caliber quarterback with his smaller hands to be the franchise quarterback. So already there's some concern there. I know it's not the big time reason why he may not be a franchise quarterback. However, it does come into the equation. You have to talk about it. It is part of the problem because at the Senior Bowl, all 32 teams noticed this, that it was raining, it was inclement weather, the ball was slipping out of his hands, he wasn't able to throw accurately at times, and he always has to wear gloves because of his gripping issues with his hands. So with all that added up too, it's almost like, listen, you may have gotten one of the better quarterbacks out of this past draft. However, he does come with some issues throwing the ball in inclement weather. That's got to be concerning, especially for a town like Pittsburgh. And then beyond that, you talk about Mitch. What if Mitch has a really good year? Now it's almost like you can't really move on from him because you still don't know what you have in Pickett. Now you almost got to extend him. You got to keep Mitch there and then have a true quarterback competition next season. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about Deante and his chemistry with Mitch, maybe they're hitting it off. Maybe they're struggling. We have to wait until we get to see some real game footage of them and not just practice. But I will say this about the whole Deante situation is that I think Pittsburgh, this is kind of almost, and it's unheard of for Pittsburgh, is a little bit of a desperation move. They're tired of losing players. Mm-hmm. They lost Juju in free agency. Like he came back last year, he tested it, came back. Now he went out there, tested again, and left. So now they're like, well, we can't afford to lose another guy. We like this. We like Deante, so let's do whatever it takes to keep him. They've done that now. Now they locked him up. But is he the real reason that's going to help you win games? I don't necessarily think so. I think he can help, but there's going to be times when it's going to be critical downs, first downs, touchdowns, whatever the situation may be, and he may fail, and that's when the fans are going to erupt in absolute dismay and disregard for him playing on the football field for them. Mm-hmm. So going forward, I disagree with the contract. I think they should have made it a little bit more team friendly. And for the Steelers in their future, it's really a big question mark. A lot of things can transpire. A lot of things still have to happen. We still don't know how good Mitch is going to fit into this offensive system that they're going to run. Mm-hmm. We don't know how well this offensive line has really improved from last year.
Right.
And so there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, because that's even another thing you could maybe take in consideration again. Because back then, I mean, no, people wanted to say a downgrade of what Big Ben has been able to do in the last couple of seasons or whatnot, begging for his retirement. But again, you had a veteran Hall of Fame wide receiver or quarterback throwing to you and relying on you. Now you've got Mitch Trubisky, where there's been question marks throughout his career about what he's able to do, about being able to see you where you are, hitting you before it's too late, inaccuracy. So, I mean, that could downgrade your ability. Your ability to put up your yardage that you have. Because if you look at his first couple of seasons, the second season he had roughly like 960 yards. This year was the first time he went over 1,000 yards. He had 1,161. Again, went from having 13 drops to 5 drops, and he had 8 touchdowns. It put him in the top 10 for wide receivers, though, or wide receiving yards. But again, when you look at it and you've got Ben Roethlisberger throwing you the football, and then you've got Mitch Trubisky throwing you the football. It's a bit different. And again, and I think they're going to rely on their running game a little more this season, or try and do that. I think get Najee Harris going on.
I mean, they did that a lot with Big Ben too.
Yeah, and try and do it more with Mitch Trubisky, and maybe do some plays with him because he is better when he's on the run too. I think. But if you put him, yes, he did have the yardage in the top 10, and you look at some of the wide receivers that share that top 10 with him, though. Do you believe that he should be even paid up in there? I'm sure that's what his agents were probably thinking again, to say, look where we finished and what we did. We're in the likes of Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I think, again,
we're looking for consistency.
What you're doing.
What have you done your whole career? Mm-hmm. You've had a lot of drops your whole career.
Yeah.
So 1 year does not prove to me that you are legitimately worthy of a high contract. Mm-hmm. You got to prove it extended-wise. 2 years in a row of great production. Now we're talking. Now we're starting to see a trend upwards. Your career's changing for the better. Now let's talk the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just loaded up for this next year or so, and then again it tapers down after that. We don't know the exact money because, again, it was said that was going to be 2 years, 36, and so you're figuring $19 million a year. But now I'm hearing that again. That's corrected. The team says it's a 3-year deal. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the numbers if it's spread out now.
Because if it's an extension, so this year doesn't count.
Yeah, this year doesn't count.
It's the next 2 years are extended, so it technically is a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
So I mean that's where they're coming from, but it's like, man, you definitely locked up a receiver now. Now you better hope that he transcends upward.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Talk about transcending upwards, Joe. I'm going to tell you about my friends at Mohawk Honda. That's right. Mohawk Honda is always trending upwards, Joe, because you know what? They like to go out of their way to please you. And at Mohawk Honda, the team can find you whatever you're looking for by searching their lot or the entire Eastern Seaboard if they have to, just for you. But the real opportunity for you right now is to either by trading in your vehicle or just selling it. The supply chain is still facing challenges, which creates a selling opportunity for you. And in some case, you may be able to sell it for more than what you paid for. That's surprising, but yes, some cases it does happen. And as always, the team at Mohawk Honda will make the buying and selling experience very easy and pleasant for you. I follow them on social media. You see the photos. They take photos with everybody. It looks like a family photo next to your beautiful car. It's like all of a sudden, you just had a baby. Everybody's taking pictures with you, having a grand old time. They love you out there. They do whatever they can. They serve you hot coffee, all kinds of crazy stuff at the new facility. It's beautiful there on Freeman's Bridge Road. Go check them out there. Or you can check them out on MohawkHonda.com. That's right. And check out your vehicles. Get it. See how much it's worth, too, right there before you even go. See what vehicle you want before you even go. Check it out, MohawkHonda.com. Mohawk Honda, they want to buy your car, and they always go out of their way to please you, Joe.
All right.
Boom. Now, let's get to another topic that isn't so pleasing for one of the franchises. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins and what's going on with them now. Stephen Ross fined $1.5 million, and he's suspended from relations with the NFL, like meetings and things like that, and craziness. The Miami Dolphins also lose the 2023 first-round pick and a 2024 third-round pick as well, and some more fines they're facing, Joe. Wow, what's going on with this? Because, again, this is all stemmed from the the issue with Brian Flores. He brought this all out to light now with Brian Flores. He talked about the things that they were doing, from the losing on purpose, like the tanking for Tua, or the tanking to win.
Trying to pay Brian Flores to try to lose.
Yeah, so I mean, the probe that's been sent out for this has now proved that they've been doing that, and now they're fined because of the tampering with contacting Tom Brady before the actual time they were legally able to do that. And it also happened later on when they were looking for a head coach, and did the same with Sean Payton.
Exactly, and it's funny because a lot of people alluded to the Dolphins doing this and hitting up Tom Brady too early, and hitting up Sean Payton and what have you. So all of this makes sense, and now it's all out there. It's all true. It actually did take place. So because the NFL has now found out that, okay, yeah, you guys were doing this, now we got to punish you. But to me, it's not punishment enough for the fact that Brian Flores is kind of almost left out in the cold with where's his, justice? Where's, his, listen, he was being told to purposely try to lose games, and I'll pay you this much money, I'll pay you that much money every single game. So now that Brian Flores has kind of brought all this negativity to light and it's out there, the NFL does their investigation, and they don't even really mention the whole Brian Flores case at all. They don't mention that. So it's like, okay, you might have found them doing wrong and everything, but where's the real punishment in terms of for Brian Flores and what he had to go through? Because his name is now like tarnished, if you will, from that whole situation.
They made it seem like he was like imagining a lot of the whole things. You know what I mean? Almost like bringing it out there, like, wow, this guy's crazy. Obviously
not.
Obviously not. Yeah.
So I mean,
exactly.
Ross was given a fine of $1.5 million. That's all well and good. He's suspended. The executive president for the Dolphins was fined $500,000. He's no longer allowed to attend NFL meetings. I don't know how much of a hindrance that is for the organization, but I mean, they'll probably just send someone else. But then also they get their picks scraped away from the 2023 first rounder and a 2024 third rounder. Okay, kind of a decent punishment for what was transpiring. However, I still feel like there's got to be something more. Like, there's no mention of Brian Flores and what he went through, and like the punishment that is going to be given in part for Brian Flores. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like Flores is kind of left out of this whole punishment, and it's like, okay, great, you suspended Ross. You charged him $1.5 million, which is probably like in his back pocket. But all in all,
almost like, do you think he should get some kind of, or maybe he should file just even a lawsuit? I mean, he tried to already do it against the NFL and the Dolphins. So, I mean, now does that mean that it's going to be, found that he gets paid now? Because, again, he got fired.
Right.
And
loss of wages.
So
loss of wages.
Was it because he didn't want to do these things that they were, wrongfully doing and stuff like that? So then, again, he's
so
probably
obvious.
settled. He needs to probably get that compensation then. You know what I'm saying? So, again, what does that mean for him?
I know he is trying to develop a team to go after the Dolphins in the NFL. And that's still in the works. However, there's a thing called loss of wages where Brian Flores needs to be given. He needs to be rewarded for the wrongdoing that the Dolphins were going on all along. So he needs to be rewarded for his financial obligation, and his name has to be cleared in some way.
Right.
So, I mean, until we see that, and maybe that's what the NFL is waiting for, is this lawsuit from Brian Flores to kind of go through all that.
Well, again, if they have their findings there, that's what shows you. Because, again, people want to look at, he's the whistleblower. Everybody wants to hate on the whistleblower because he brought it up, the things that were going on.
But he wasn't wrong.
Stuff, but he wasn't. And he's got his case there now. So an independent probe that you did had proved everything that he had said. So then, not as he just is, just a whistleblower altogether again. He is the person that was wronged. Say if you got fired from someplace, again, because say it could be anything, sexual harassment even too. Say this guy did this or whatever, and then I got fired because I said no. You could, and you're trying to file a lawsuit against them, say, hey, I was wrongfully fired just because I said no about doing this for this person or something like that. That's messed up. And then everybody was kind of pointing at you as like, well, no, yeah, whatever. You know, what you have no basis of what you're saying, blah, 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 blah. It's hearsay, da, da, da.
Yeah.
But then it comes out showing, again, enough that they are going to fine you and take away your picks right there, that you do have something to stand on here. And that I think you are entitled to that, because you're obviously not going to get your job back, especially with them.
No, why would you want it?
Yeah, I know, but this is what he had wanted to say, though. He had wanted to be able to get a head coaching job, wanted other people of minorities to be able to get head coaching jobs.
And it was flawed because of it.
And flawed. And people had even said that they wanted to, that he was maybe going to be blacklisted from other teams.
I'll tell you right now.
This is now only shown that he was being a stand-up guy.
Right.
And now he is probably honorable and being able to hold that head coaching job once again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is that like, now that his name has been partially kind of cleared, I know there was a stigma throughout the league about him, about like, oh, we can't touch him because he's going to be involved with this court case and the Dolphins and that whole mess over there. We don't want to be a part of that. But I'll tell you right now, I have to commend the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they stepped up and they hired Brian Flores regardless of what was going on to give him a job. And God, it's an absolute steal for him to be a defensive, assistant, you know what I mean, on that staff. So now that this is kind of getting cleared up for him a little bit, next year, good God, he's number one candidate for head coaching next year. Has to be. And to be honest, when Flores did end up leaving the Dolphins, there was something inside of me that I was hoping, because the Raiders were looking for a coach. I'm like, ooh, it would be real nice. Could we scoop Brian Flores, even though this whole thing's going on? It's kind of the Raider way. I mean, they never give a fuck about signing.
They got Josh McDaniels too again, so they were looking that same Patriot coaching tree there.
Yeah, so it made all the sense in the world. Like, hey, Raiders are renegades in a sense in the NFL, so why not just go out and get Flores and screw everybody? So a little bit of me was hoping, and it just never happened. But now that he's been cleared, I can only imagine the popularity he's going to be getting this coming offseason. After we haven't even started the season yet, and we're already talking about him being a head coaching candidate for the next offseason, because I'll tell you right now, he is by far, I will say this, I think he is the best disciple from the Patriots, from Bill Belichick as a head coach. Now, you can debate it with
Mike Vrabel?
Tennessee, Mike Vrabel. You can debate it with him because he's doing a phenomenal job too as well. But what Flores has done for the Dolphins organization, I think, is cataclysmic. It's been amazing. What a turnaround. They have talent, and a lot of young talent, mind you. They are headed in the right direction. I just don't know how far they're going to get, but we like what we see. But Brian Flores, now it's going to be time. As soon as this season ends, he's going for a head coaching job.
Absolutely. We've got Jeremy Clute in the house with us tonight, Joe.
What's going on, Clute?
Says, can't wait to see the Patriots offense with the Raiders. Hey, when you see those guys out there, it's super exciting. When you see the different wide receiving core that they have, and you get running backs, the two-headed monster running backs. I mean, it is pretty exciting to see.
It is the Patriot West.
And how about this, though? And this is the sad thing about Derek Carr, too, is because this is what's going to happen. All right, Derek Carr is probably going to play really well. He has been past couple years. But say the Raiders are able to we'll just say even take the division. They play well enough, take the division. That the narrative that's going to be painted is, look at the Josh McDaniels offense and what they're able to do here. And he had brought this to the Las Vegas Raiders and been able to do this and blah, blah, blah. And that's the narrative that's going to get pushed.
Yeah.
He's going to get pushed aside. It's going to be the Patriots way, and they're going to be like, oh, see, this is what they've been looking for.
True.
It's something like this. And meanwhile, when he was over there in New England running the offense with Tom Brady there, it was all Tom Brady's. It did.
Right.
It was whatever Brady did. It was a Brady or Belichick. Yeah. That had nothing even to do with Josh McDaniels.
Right.
But again, their narrative is going to be Josh McDaniels got it there. Even again, let's look at this narrative of saying what he did back with the Denver Broncos, kind of his first run out, didn't do very well.
Terrible.
Invested in Tim Tebow. But now he's got, a better quarterback to run his type of offense. Second time round, the better. But again, Derek Carr, I think, is going to get underlooked in this season if they do perform well.
If they do perform the way a lot of people are expecting them to, then I mean, Derek Carr has been slighted his whole career. Even in 2015, I know there was some, talk about him becoming an MVP of the league, and he had such a phenomenal year. That was his best year. But he's been a very consistent and a top 10 quarterback for the last 2 to 3 years. But everybody still slights him. So, I mean, to me, it's kind of crazy when people debate on certain players, and just because for a long time the Raiders organization had a terrible narrative and say it doesn't matter who they have talent-wise, they're still going to suck. But here comes, like, they finally have it. They finally found a franchise quarterback. They're finally getting some young players. They're building that roster up, and now they're kind of in position to maybe even push it farther and maybe take the division for once, and God knows how long. You know what I mean? So it's like all the accolades, and you're right, are probably going to go because it's a new regime, a new offensive staff. Josh McDaniels is going to get all the accolades and say, oh, my God, see, we told you he was the best offensive coordinator in the game. This is why. Look at what he did with Derek Carr's career. But Derek Carr's been really good to great at times throughout his career. So it's terrible that he has a negative narrative around him no matter what he does. And I've seen something personally, because I'm a Raiders fan, so I've seen something personally in a press conference recently where it's almost like Derek Carr has hit a switch. And it's not a switch like we all know, like he's a man of God, he's a man of faith, and he's all about helping people, and he's super nice. But I saw a little edge to Derek Carr in this last press conference. He actually called out a reporter, which he has never done, and basically told him to shut up. And is sick of hearing his negativity about Derek himself, and he said, you know what, I don't care what anybody thinks outside this team. He goes, we're gonna prove all of you wrong. Like, so he's got a little bit of edge now to him, and he didn't swear, but he's a man of God, so he's gonna try not to.
Poke the bear.
But it's something different. I've never seen Derek have this kind of edge to him, his attitude, especially this year. So now it looks like he's got a little chip on his shoulder, just like some of these other Raiders, and they're going to try to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard a lot of good stuff coming out of the camp, too, with the Raiders, too, of people matching up, too, with Deante Adams, too. So your defense looks like they're locking it in as well, too, which is something that you guys have been looking forward to for a while, too.
Yeah, the Raiders are playing tonight in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if you don't know.
The game was delayed. I don't know if it started yet or not.
It's going on right now. It looks like the score is 6-0 Las Vegas.
And did they put any starters in at all? Is it all just straight up backups? Did you put them in for one set of downs? And
I haven't really paid too much attention, but we already knew that Derek Carr wasn't going to play. We already knew that Deante and maybe Hunter and Darren Waller weren't going to play. Like the big-time starters weren't going to play. But, all in all, it's like it's a chance to see what they have developmental-wise, just like any other team.
Really nice.
So your first, I would say first week, maybe half the game, your second week is where you really kind of see what you have depth-wise. And then the starters play a little bit more in the third game, and maybe even a little bit, like maybe a series, maybe even a snap in the second game. So, it's kind of like a touch and field goal. See what you have basically for depth. But all in all, it's a learning process for training camp. Listen, they got to learn about a lot of players. They got 90-man rosters right now. It's kind of insane. I can only imagine for coaches and GMs and all that. Crazy period of time for football, but a lot of tough decisions that have to be made for all 32 teams.
Yeah, and it's tough because, again, you've got the limited preseason as well. I mean, yes, they've been doing more joint practices with teams, stuff which is almost kind of a preseason
like
game
a little
in itself.
scrimmage.
But this is the one thing that I always I questioned about with this limited preseason. We talked about it with injuries. I understand that now as well. But when you've got some teams now that have that quarterback that's still that big question for you,
right?
Don't you think you even want to figure that out in the preseason? I think get him a little more snaps because, again, you might have your questions about him, but still he's still your starter. So then he's not going to dress as much as some of the other guys that are still trying to make the team. So he's going to get limited reps until that final dress rehearsal game.
Yes.
But don't you think you want that guy to kind of be out there more to still get even more of those reps to prove to you that he's your guy instead of waiting until finally that first season kicks off again?
It depends on the situation, I'll say. Because if you have a veteran quarterback, let's just say Derek Carr, right? We talked about him just now. Derek Carr's a proven veteran. Right. So proven veterans don't need all the reps in the world. They already know, they already understand the game. They know how to prepare their bodies. They've been there, done that type of thing. So for them, dress rehearsal and maybe even a snap or two before that is good enough.
Right. I'm talking about, let's say Daniel Jones.
So you got Daniel Jones.
Right.
Daniel Jones, he's deemed to be the starter, but he's struggled. Let's just say it.
Right.
So because he's struggled, and I think it's gonna be more like a split rep count between Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones. I don't think one is going to get really much more than the other because they need to see from both of them who can handle this offense. Because to be honest with you, it's Daniel Jones's job to lose right now.
Right.
And he could quite honestly lose this before week 1. Maybe Tyrod Taylor shows huge promise in this new offense and is superseding expectations over Daniel Jones right now. And it's like now the Giants are going to be like, well, we want the best out there. So sorry, Daniel, you lost your job. So there's a potential no matter it does go situation by situation. So like for Daniel Jones and how, not as impressive as he's been.
Right.
You're going to have both quarterbacks get a lot of reps. They're going to split them. Let's take a different example. Let's say
that's what I mean.
Recently drafted rookie.
If we do see this in the preseason games, which again, if we do see that maybe they're splitting time more, does that mean that there is a true quarterback kind of
absolutely
battle for this?
Absolutely.
But now, if they say that Daniel Jones right now is the starter, but he's still got to prove a year, and they're putting Tyrod Taylor out there for still multiple again because you're going to dress your backups. He's your backup, probably running with the second squad. So second squad out. So he's getting more reps during the preseason than Daniel Jones is.
Yes.
So how does that help Daniel Jones as trying to be a true starter and help him in his development then? If you're going to dress him less than like a Tyrod Taylor.
Because the Buffalo Bills need to see more of Tyrod Taylor. That would be the only thing.
You mean the New York Giants?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Sorry. A little flashback there. But the Giants need to see Tyrod Taylor. So it's like they want to see what they have in him.
Right.
They already know. They have plenty of game film from previous, offenses and everything to see what Daniel Jones is capable of. Because a lot can be learned from previous film. And every new regime has done this. Josh McDaniels has done it, and now the Bills offensive staff has done it with the Giants. So they know what they have in Daniel Jones. They know what his positive attributes are and his negative ones. So they want to see who controls the offense better. And by giving Tyrod Taylor more reps, maybe he outperforms Daniel Jones in the short run. And maybe proves to be like, okay, maybe this is a really opened up quarterback competition. Now we got to have a tougher decision to make because let's face it, Daniel Jones coming into this, despite who got signed to be his backup, he was going to be the starter. He definitely was. He's been there. He's been labeled the starter from get-go. There hasn't been a true opened up quarterback competition, even with the new regime in there. But they need to see what Tyrod Taylor can give them as well because he has different attributes.
I think he was their backup plan that knows the scheme probably.
He's
will
insurance.
Get them going again
For sure.
so that they can plug him in there as well, being able to run the offense in case Daniel Jones, has the injuries issues again. Because you forget about getting the fused neck and everything too as well.
Yes.
The major injury for Daniel Jones.
Absolutely.
So that's your insurance policy. Yes, I understand as well. But again, if you're ready to move on, then you've got to get through a guy that is going to be able to get you some wins too, because I'm sure this regime also that comes in, they want to be able to get victories, not just tank and suck and be able to get that quarterback. They would like to. And again, in a perfect world, you want to play well, but just lose those games and get that quarterback. Me as a fan for the Giants, I don't exact them to want them to tank and get number one overall pick. I mean, I've watched them lose for many years now since their Super Bowl run. So I've had enough. I'm ready for them to win too as well, and I just want to believe in one of these guys. But when it's even out of camp right now, they're not exactly sold on anybody right now, even too, and that there's talks of Jimmy Garoppolo talking with the New York Football Giants about going there.
It's possible.
Now, what's your take on that whole thing? Like, what's the purpose of getting somebody like a Jimmy G other than let's go try and win? We're not trying to win now to do anything, but he's got to be in there, being able to have that playoff experience, Super Bowl experience, shown that he can handle the reins as a franchise quarterback, at least for now, keep the seat warm. Maybe if they do want to draft a quarterback this year, but At
They
what
have to.
cost? Again, you're going to restructure his contract, obviously, to get in there because, again, he doesn't have any guaranteed money left on his contract, so they can work things out and restructure it so it helps the Giants. But what's the end game on this whole thing? Why bring in a Jimmy G, especially even to get more wins, if that might hinder you from getting one of these quarterbacks this year?
Because it's so new and now it's a product of conversation. The only reason why you would even entertain a trade for Jimmy G at this point is if you are completely convinced that Daniel Jones is not your guy at all. Like he doesn't fit the offense or he's not achieving as much success as you want him to in practice. And I know it's just practice, but they are definitely going to see more before this is even a real thing. They got to see him on the live action football field and see what kind of decisions he makes. Does he still make the bonehead ones from last year, or has he corrected some of those issues and it shows on the football field in his maturity as a quarterback? So right now what the Giants are doing is they're putting out feelers. They're seeing what's available to them if in case Daniel Jones falls flat on his face during training camp and fails in preseason games, and it's like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe this isn't the direction we want to go. Let's make a deal. Let's get a quarterback that can give us that solid, experience that we want, and a guy that can more than adequately come in and help make this team a competitor at the very least. Because really, when you look at the Giants, like we've debated about the Giants roster and everything, and we love what we saw with the defense last year. They were definitely one of the better defenses out there. They were competitive. They were right in your face. And then their offense kind of struggled with Daniel Jones making bad decisions at times and what have you. And the offensive line played average to porous at times. So all that being said, they've done upgrades on offensive line. They've tried to bring in the best receiving core that they can so far. And they're still trying to feel out Daniel Jones. But if that decision comes down to where they're like, you know what? I'm sorry to say this, but I like Tyrod. But I only like him as a backup. We need a true starter. Daniel Jones is not it. When that decision does come into play, then you'll see a lot more smoke hitting, a lot more smoke swirling around and then there's going to be fire to those rumors about maybe going after Jimmy G. Because to be honest, if they decide that Daniel Jones is not their guy, that's the only quarterback right now that is so-called available.
Right, and that would only make sense if, again, they put him for a multi-year deal because Tyrod Taylor's a one-year lease. They didn't take up Daniel Jones' fifth-year option, so he's on 1 year.
Why would they?
So basically, they could be washed away and have no quarterback coming in next year at all.
This is why, no matter what happens, they have to draft a quarterback next draft.
Well, Tom Brady's going to be a free agent next year.
He'll be retired. He'll be done. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, so
listen, right, real quick. I just want to present this. Earlier in the show, I did reach out to everybody. Listen, if you're new to the show, all our podcasters out there, if you love to listen to your podcasts and you like to talk NFL football talk, we are the place for you. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. That's right, anywhere. Make sure you send us a follow. And if you want to get even more interactive with us, head over to YouTube or Facebook. You can drop any comments down below. Follow us on YouTube. Search us up, Football on the No Show. Hit that subscribe button, the notification bell when we go live. And then also, please drop comments. Do not be shy. Our boy Jeremy Clute was, nice enough tonight to drop a comment down there.
Absolutely.
And others. But listen, share some knowledge. If you have any opinions on what we're talking about, if you want to talk about something else, if you got to question yourself about anything football related, fantasy football, it's a month of fantasy right now.
Oh, it is. That's
and
right.
Anything you want. You want to talk about your team, you want to talk about a certain player, a certain deal that's been made, we're here to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. And you know who else is here to help, Joe? Let's tell everybody about our friends at Johnstone Supply. They're always trying to help you keep cool.
That's right. They're trying to keep us cool, especially upstate New York here. It's a little hot for us in the summer.
Especially right now. Today was a burner.
It was a little bit.
Like
I felt bad for a lot of people that had to work outside today.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you all stayed hydrated today.
Even indoors that doesn't have AC, like, people at my job too as well. It's pretty sweltering in there.
Yeah, that's true. I know one of our buddies was sweating bullets, today in the inside.
Absolutely.
But summer's winding down, but you can still stay cool in upstate New York with high-efficiency central air conditioning systems and ductless mini splits. Makers by Goodman, Fujitsu, and Westinghouse are all in stock and at great prices. Need someone to install it? You guessed it. Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York is here to help you. Now stop in and find out about their great service and products. Call Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York at 518-272-5922. That is 518-272-5922. I went a little slower there for you. Listen, ask Kevin, James, or Bird what they can help you guys with, or visit them at 2600 6th Avenue in Troy. That's Troy, New York there. Get a new AC system today.
That's right. AC systems. I saw a Fujitsu I'm looking at houses right now, Joe, and I was looking at a house, and they had a Fujitsu mini splits. And maybe I like to think that maybe they watched our show and they got it from Johnstone Supply. Let's
Maybe
hope
they did.
And, I didn't know what one was until I saw one, and then there we go. So now we know.
Clute.
Jeremy Clute, I'm famous.
He goes, woohoo, I'm famous.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he's famous. All right, there we go. So, Joe, we had some interesting news pop up. Not a lot of people know about this story here, but
yeah, it's kind of under the radar.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers now had said that he openly admitted that he's come out with a new work kind of supplement that he's worked into to help him get and achieve his maximum spirituality and also his MVP status here, Joe. Why don't you tell everybody about that? What's going on with Aaron Rodgers and why he's tripping right now?
So Aaron Rodgers has kind of come out into the news. I think it was on a podcast that he was on, and he kind of announced what really helped him kind of catapult, his level of play to winning a couple of MVPs. And he attributed it to ayahuasca supplement. It's a psychedelic, basically. So what this is it's a shrub, actually. Yeah. The leaves and everything. So, and it's not marijuana, if that's what you're thinking. It's a different psychedelic altogether. Ayahuasca it was basically used in people in Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, Brazil, that type of region. They used it as like a healing medicine, or even in religious ceremonies and tribal rituals for thousands of years. So it's got some tracking behind it. However, the uses for it were to physical issues or mental problems, as well as to deal with spiritual crises. So that's the positive spin on it. However, it goes a little further. This is kind of dangerous to take. There was a lot of issues with, it could cause, hemorrhaging. It could cause, obviously, if you have a bad trip, guess how long it lasts? 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
Not minutes. Hours. So
yeah, I mean, if you ever trip on acid, that's like a 12-hour ride. Imagine that. But Jeremy Clute says we have Aaron Rodgers on acid playing football. Isn't that great? Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Dude. So it's crazy though.
The other thing too was it could cause obviously hallucinations. It's a hallucinogenic. Tremors, diluted pupils. Which it is what it is. Increased blood pressure, nausea, and vomiting, and in some rare cases, it could cause death. Boom. So let that sink in a little bit. So Aaron,
real nice.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, puke breath. I'd kiss you.
Yeah, puke breath. That's what I mean. And then you vomit, you probably trip harder and stuff. But this is the thing we've learned about Aaron Rodgers lately. If everybody remembers back when the COVID was going on and stuff like that, and he had said, I've been, immunized, and so everybody's like, oh yeah, cool, he's been vaccinated. Then it comes out that he wasn't. He didn't get the vaccine from, the other suppliers out there. He went to a different herbal supplement. Like, he has a guy that he goes to. So now he deals with just a drug dealer. You know what I mean? It's like, I just go to my drug dealer and he gives me what I need. And that'll heal me from anything right now. I'm feeling like Superman right now. So he went to his drug dealer now to get some, not even that mushrooms, but it seems like the trip is pretty close. A couple of hours.
It's a shrub.
But the shrub, so it's more even like the Jimson weed. Have you seen that? It's like that spiky type of plant where you have to crack it open.
This is just leaves, like plain leaves,
right.
like kind of like what you see outside on bushes. Like they're just leaves.
So it's like even like poison ivy could be deadly if you touch the oils and stuff like that. So I mean, he could be right there. But we've seen him go from this now to like herbal supplements to try and help cure things and stuff like that. So I mean, is he talking to these type of different shaman that are trying to help him reach a higher level of playing? And like this is his way of, not his TB12 type of deal, but pretty simple, the same type of thing. He's got his own regime, his own kind of crew now, not like Tom Brady does with his supplements and his eating, not eating regular things, certain fruits and stuff like that, but very bland, not a lot of things that would damage him. Aaron Rodgers has turned to this herbal type of supplements type of deal to help himself with COVID, and now he feels that doing this and taking a walk on the wild side and traveling with the spirit horse, to lead him into the MVP rankings again. It seems like it's worked, but
he swears it does.
Maybe that explains the long hair and the weird Nicolas Cage look that he's got going on too, man. It's like, wow, man.
Let's put this into complete perspective. This is him, quote, end quote. This is a phrase that he said. He goes, "I don't think it's coincidence. I really don't. I don't really believe in coincidences at this point. It's the universe bringing things to happen when they're supposed to happen. There are signs and synchronicities all around us at all times. If we're awake enough to see them and to take them in and to listen to our intuition when it's speaking to us or pounding us in the head saying, 'Hey, dummy, this is what you're supposed to be doing,'" end quote.
Nothing is impossible.
This is a very kind of like astronomy theory,
it's
spacey,
it's very
chakra-like.
Yeah, it's
spiritual.
opening his mind to spiritual again, because I've seen things about the key word is synchronicities. A lot of people have brought up synchronicities to explain certain theories that are out there. Even spirits, dead spirits, synchronicities that happen. Things happen for a reason. They happen, and these reoccurrences happen because of alignment with whether it be stars or even certain spirits being around at the same time. So again, this is what he is following. So again, it's not exactly on a religious point, but it seems pretty close to what he's talking about, because he's brought up it's not even just a religion. It's about opening his mind and seeing the different signs that we are all just people living in this universe, and there's things that happen and people we were supposed to meet along the way as a part of a big universal plan, and you look for these signs and things. It's really open and clear if you see them and can point you out that what it is. It's not just a coincidence like, I happened to do this one time. People like to say about chain reactions with being around a car accident at the right time or wrong time. You just missed it. Like all of a sudden, boom, you hear about a car crash on I-90. Wow, oh my goodness. You were just there, but then something else had happened that you took a different route and you missed it. You know what I mean? Like the movie Final Destination. And this is a reoccurring thing that a lot of people believe in. And then Aaron Rodgers now being one of those true believers now on this whole point. But again, maybe it's just the drugs talking, though. We don't know.
We're not really sure at this point.
Not sure on this one. But I thought that was a really interesting story, though, too, about the NFL. A lot of people are talking about right there. But what do you guys think about that?
Only Pat McAfee has been talking about this.
Maybe I think we should do an experiment and just try doing the show one time. We'll try something. Let's just do it, right?
For 4 to 6 hours, though.
Yeah, we'll be around for a long time. We'll do a live stream for 4 to 6 hours.
We're going to do a live stream for 4 to 6 hours.
Chawunga, or what the hell it's called.
But to us, it's going to feel a lot less.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's when he talks about it, too, and bringing up his MVP level and being on this stuff. It reminds me of the Family Guy episode. Remember when they were brought up their old tapes they used to do when they used to do karaoke, and when Lois and Peter were in a group together. They used to get really high and then play. And then they thought they were so great and the music's great, but then all of a sudden they show you the reality of what it was.
Terrible.
And they're just like, blah, 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 on the microphone and everything. It's like maybe that's what really happens in his training sessions. I mean, I think it'd be pretty hilarious. But all right, so there you go. There's Aaron Rodgers talk. wanted to remind you guys, too, about something that's coming up, too, and that is the Albany Empire, too, as well, Joe. They are going to be playing for the championship. Once again, Joe, the championship is the 13th. Where is it? Albany Empire, they're playing for the national championship. Get your tickets now at albanyempirenal.com. The Empire go for their second NAL title. Kickoff is set for Saturday, August 13th. 7 p.m. Be a part of the championship by buying your tickets today at albanyempirenal.com or calling the box office at 518-714-2200, extension 101. That's right, the Albany Empire. They're looking to take another championship here to the next level here, Joe. Amazing. What a crazy season it's been for them because, again, not looking as good as when their first championship they just got in the NAL.
Right.
And remember, though, they're kind of back-to-back champions already. Before they were in the NAL, there was just the Arena League, you know.
Right.
Now they're almost going to be back-to-back, so they're almost going for the Triple Crown.
It's a little different,
it's just different leagues, though.
It's a little different now. The rules changed a little bit. Now they're not playing really like two. It's like
that's what I've noticed.
Iron Man football kind of thing, and there's a lot of players that from last season are typically playing out of position in a sense. It's a whole different type of. It's almost like you mentioned off the air before. Like it's almost like flag football style, almost. Where a lot of guys play different positions and there's not as many guys there. So it's like you don't have a complete offense or defense anymore. Now it's like those guys out there are the guys out there all the time.
Right, and you'll see the mismatches that happen and the mistakes here
I can
and there.
imagine.
And but really the season has been down to these two teams. It's going to be the Carolina Cobras and the Albany Empire. These teams have been duking it out all season.
It's going to be a great game.
They've been the better teams out of the whole league. They've been 1-2 the whole time.
It's going to be a great game.
Unfortunately, the Carolina Cobras have suffered a lot of injuries, which they faltered out of the number one spot. That's why the Empire were able to get some good
quarterbacks went down, from what I hear.
Absolutely. And, we'll see what happens to them. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be tight, but the Albany Empire have their backs against the wall with this one. That Carolina team is a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, they're both really good teams, and I think it's going to be a really good game. I feel like this is going to be one of those games where because of, this is it type of, this big stage, this is the championship game. Everybody's going to come to play.
Right.
And this is going to be I feel like it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be right down to the last minute.
And it's going to be roaring, too, because, again, last time they played, too, they've had to play this team 3 times now. Luckily, this time it's also in Albany because they did sneaking out, get that number 1 seed. They played them last 2 times, and Carolina won both times. So now they play them here in the championship. The atmosphere is going to be electric. It's going to be crazy. The refs kind of screwed them on both games, though, too, in a sense. So it's going to be exciting. And are the refs going to be part of this one, too, as well?
They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. Let them play.
But we'll see. But that's it for our show this week. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Thanks for all the comments out there. And, once again, if you haven't yet, go to YouTube, become a know-it-all, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, let you know we go live whenever we do, and also on the podcast, Google Podcast, Apple, Spotify, all that stuff. Make sure you guys find us there if you just want to listen to us on the go. And that's it. I hope you guys had a good time. Next week, we got some new sponsors coming up. We got some new shows, a lot of good new experiences for you guys coming up in August.
Yes.
And we can't wait to tell you guys more about that.
Some new big unveilings coming soon.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.